Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Student, and welcome to How to Get Your Referral Sources to Run After You today. First, I'd like to thank ChiroTouch for sponsoring this program. I have had a decades, plural, long relationship with them, and for reasons I can't get into in this presentation, I would just like to tell you they are my exclusive referral source for malpractice because they offer a lot more than most everyone else. That's for a different topic. But right now, let's get into today's program and go through our PowerPoint presentation with you. So today's program is about how to get your referral sources to run after you. I'm going to be introducing myself throughout the program a little bit more. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I've been in the game for 40 years. I teach in 3 chiropractic colleges and 2 medical schools at various levels. I consult doctors, I get published, I research, and I had multiple practices throughout the years. I was high volume. I saw 650 visits a week. I morphed to multidiscipline. I got out of that. I had a single office practice, done a whole bunch of different things. And now I'm really focused on consulting. But today, what we're going to focus on is to understand that the future starts today. The future. And you have to understand for 2021 and beyond, you have to watch out for those get-rich-quick programs, folks. They don't work. They don't work at all. Colossus is the get-rich-quick program of the last decade. It will not, even though it's important and it's real, it will not get you what you want. Political favors with carriers. Growing up in chiropractic, I was president of my state organization. The other organization, we have multiple organizations. If you were in the executive board, you got on the panel from a carrier. That's how it started. Political favors in hospitals. You know someone who's in the ER, a CEO. Those days are over. You want to market lawyers associations. It doesn't work. Research articles, advertising, breakfast, lunches, and dinners, whining and dining, theaters, newsletters. It's all get-rich-quick programs. Because once you get involved in those programs, you're going to become a one and done. You actually will get referrals. But the problem is that they're going to see you. They're going to look at you. They're going to understand you. So, and then they're going to see what's going on, and they're not going to want to work with you again. You need a strategic business plan centered on your clinical excellence. Your clinical excellence will drive your success. It's really that simple. And it's all about infrastructure and documentation, even working with ChiroSecure. It all matters. It all fits in to what we're doing. Now, let's get the next screen up. So my vision is to change the world through chiropractic. That's my vision, okay? I want to change the world through chiropractic, and we can do that, and we could do it responsibly. I started as a family practitioner, and I loved it, and I saw lots of kids, but I was so enthralled with trauma care. It was so much fun. It was so different. I really was getting bored just doing family care. And trauma care, there's no end to what you can do, and it's critical. But if you could get your volume to increase, I don't care what your philosophy is. It doesn't matter. Okay, philosophy is the study of truth. It doesn't mean anything. I'm the only one who knows the best chiropractic technique in the world. The best chiropractic technique is the one that works best for you. It's really simple. I'm the only one who knows what chiropractic really is. It's what your state board allows you to practice. That's what chiropractic is in your state. So, we could talk about all these different things, but we want to change the world, and you can only do that if you're getting patients into your office. Now, I can tell you in the last 8 years, we've been instrumental in getting 1.3 million referrals, additional new patients into chiropractic offices. We already have the answers, and it's very, very possible to do that. Your practice goals are easy to attain. Now, how do I learn all this stuff? And the doctors that I work with and consult for, and this is not an advertisement for, that usually average between 15 and 25 new cases a month, mostly personal injury. Why personal injury? Simply because it pays more. If I'm going to treat a patient, I'd rather, if I'm in California, get $210 a visit than $65 a visit. If I'm in Illinois, I'd rather get $380 a visit than $65 for cash or managed care. If I'm in Michigan, I'm going to get another $300 rather than $65. I'm in New Jersey, I'll get $105 rather than $60 for managed care. It's just an economic issue. But how do I learn this stuff? It's easy. I learn it by looking at trends. I'm one of the only people in the country who sees all 50 states at once. I've lectured to over 250,000 attorneys in 36 states. I consult chiropractors in 49 states. I speak to carrier defense lawyers multiple times a week. I work with insurance companies on a regular basis. I lecture to them. And I'm one of these crazy people who reads published federal lawsuits. So I know what State Farm, Allstate, Geico, Blue Cross Blue Shield, all of them are looking for. And right now we're actually teaching our doctors what they need to do to get paid in 2022. I already know what the answers are. You've got to understand the trends, but you also have to, COVID is a big issue now as well. And you also have to understand during COVID, it's a whole different strategy. So what the goal is you need to expand your referral base, not just lawyers if you want personal injury, but hospitals, urgent cares, primary care medical providers, and medical surgeons, medical specialists. You need to open and expand your platform for referral sources where you become the first referral option for all of them. And that is called primary spine care. Primary spine care means you are the first referral option. Again, not just lawyers if you want to do PI, but medical primaries, medical specialists, urgent cares and emergency rooms. And it is exceeding our expectations of how many new cases our doctors are getting. Because you could hold on to your philosophy all day long. If your practice is contracting, then what good is it? I don't care what you do when you get your patients in your office, as long as you adjust them. I don't care what you do. Educate them, adjust them, work with them, understand them, but be credentialed also in the genre of care or the specialty that you're choosing. But if you want to get into a hospital or an urgent care or lawyers, you've got to be the first to get in. Because if you're not the first to get in, you're in trouble. First matters. People don't say, I want an RC, I want a Pepsi. They say, I want a Coke. And then everything else is after that. You want a copy machine? You don't say you want a Toshiba or a Konica. You say you want a Xerox. Xerox is a brand because first matters. Because when you get into that emergency room or urgent care center, first matters. But you stand the chance of being a one and done if you are not properly set up with an infrastructure. You need to break that glass ceiling to become a primary spine care provider. You need to break that glass ceiling to get into that emergency room. It's actually the emergency department. You need to get into the urgent care center. You need to be working with those lawyers and medical doctors. Because remember, MD primary care sees 95% of the population. We at most see 7%. I want to tap into their 95%. And it always comes down to one thing: case management. They don't care what you do when you're in your office. If you start talking technique, that's the kiss of death. That's the kiss of death. If you send someone to a surgeon, does the surgeon say to you, I use a double Trendelenburg, triple Lindy, upside down, inside out knife system? No. They say, we're going to evaluate the patient, we're going to diagnose them, and if surgery is indicated, we feel we can help them, we're going to do it. That's called case management. We need to talk in terms of case management, and that's one of the things that's least understood. Now, what I don't have time for is to show you show you some videos that I've got for some doctors. And if you send me an email or text me your email address, which is on my last slide, I'll send this to you. But Aaron Smith was in practice 8 years, went to an orthopedic surgeon's office, Cedar Park, Texas. The surgeon gave him 5 minutes to kiss his ring. He walked out. And by the way, the surgeon gave him 5 minutes, honestly, to kiss his ring. The surgeon wanted his referrals. He ended up talking about slice thicknesses of MRI the entire time. He gave him 45 minutes. The surgeon said to him, Dr. Smith, I love chiropractic. I just hate chiropractors. They're stupid. You're the first smart one I've met because you know how to manage the case. You understand. He got 150 referrals from the ortho that year. He saw 3 surgeons within a month, 2 ortho surgeons and a neurosurgeon. 150, 150, 250. Those are his number of referrals that 1 year, 8 years in practice. We go to Dave Packer in Chesapeake, Virginia. Dave went through the program. He got it trained. He did everything he needed to. The Chesapeake Bay, Virginia hospital system, he's now on their board. He just called me this morning and said they're bringing him through their emergency room. He's going to be their exclusive referrer. Once you learn how to manage and you have the credentials behind you, it can't be the old Chiro one-step, two-step. It can't be that you know 5% and profess to know 100%. So here's 3 questions I ask doctors. What's the difference between a herniated, bulge, protruded, and extruded disc? What are the slice thicknesses that the MRI company takes of your patient in the cervical spine? And how do you manage a patient with the syrinx in the lower lumbar spine? I broach those questions to over 10,000 chiropractors across the country. Not one got it right. These guys do, and that's the result. Everybody, I want it, I got it, I want it, I got it, I want it, I got it, right from Ariana Grande. The question is, are you going to take it? You want to know why you fail? Because you can't be doing the same thing over and over. It's not about getting better at adjusting. It's not about having a better mousetrap. It's not better having the get-rich-quick program. The research article, they're all get-rich-quick programs. It's about your clinical excellence and learning how to manage a case. You've got to learn how to manage. So it starts with having compliant and complete documentation. And by the way, ChiroSecure loves that because that protects you from being sued. You have to rule out anatomical spine pain, fracture, tumor, infection. And you have to look for mechanical issues, biomechanical issues. And then you have to make it demonstrable with visual verification. You need to consider a whole spine model versus regional because the pain usually does not come from that individual segment. It's usually centrally generated from the brain from a disparate area. You have to know what an adjustment does. You have to know what a pathoneurobiomechanical lesion is. Let me give you another word for pathoneurobiomechanical lesion. Vertebral subluxation. They're synonymous. You have to understand that, and I'm actually going to have a whole one of our webinars in the future is going to be just on that. I'm going to teach exactly what it is because it's all evidence-based. It's all in the literature. You have to dispel non-specific back pain. You have to get rid of that dogma, but you have to be able to demonstrably show it and then manage your cases, treat, triage, and collaborate when indicated. Those are the trends in primary spine care. And here's the key. Here's the key and the roadmap to get there. First, you need to build an admissible infrastructure that has complete documentation that's compliant. You got to do that. Then you need to have, and not just documentation, but it's everything about how you triage your patients, about how you document, how you communicate to them, what your office looks like. I mean, there's a myriad of things. You need a complete infrastructure. Then documentation. You've got to be compliant. I do a compliance review with the doctors I start with. Then you need credentials. Without credentials, you're nothing. They have to be formal. Then you create relationships with your 5 sources: lawyers, MD primaries, MD specialists, urgent cares, and emergency rooms. And you start building relationships, but it's usually lawyers and some MD primaries or surgeons. Then you get your referrals and you become the solution for the case. After enough cases, you're going to become the solution to their practice. And the lawyers are going to send you plaintiff IMEs, a term I coined about a decade ago. Just like an IME from the insurance company, a lawyer can send them to you. Or a medical doctor will now have peer relations with you. Okay? It's really easy. Then you're going to teach those lawyers and medical doctors. Then you get exclusive referrals. Then you become an advocate they become your advocate for inclusion. They're going to bring you in to all the places you want to go once you go through this roadmap from beginning to end. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it. I'm giving you a very brief overview, but you've got to have documents. You've got to have documents that work well. It could either be easy or hard. They could get you a lot of money or nothing. It can help you sleep well at night or have sleepless nights. It can have you have lawyers call you daily or no lawyers, or you can keep repaying it if you don't do it properly by answering to a RICO claim, and that's out there. You need to be an expert with peers versus a technician. You're not a PT. You need to have documents that are typed, that are done well. You need to understand, you need to have E&Ms, evaluation and management, evals and reevals, narratives, IME, all these things. And you could also outsource these things. There are things you need not to do. Now, listen, I'm just whizzing through this, going through some of these things, but you don't want to win a fight with a carrier. You just don't want to have it. So this is improper documentation results. And when you're at improper, these are the things they look for: predetermined treatment plans, non-legally defensible fees, x-rays taken at the hospital and retaken, same treatment every visit. And I can read through all of these things. These are the things you need to focus on and learn. And if you shoot me an email, preferably not a text, if you shoot me an email, and it's Dr. Mark, D-R-M-A-R-K, at academyofchiropractic.com, it's on the last page, I will send you this sheet. I'll send you this whole program and presentation. But these are the things you need to understand. Now, your business model is upside down. And it really is. It's really upside down, because what you all are doing is you're reaching, I want a tool, I want a research article, I want a course, I want a this, I want a that. You can have the best tools in the world, but unless you have a blueprint, you're not going to build anything. You need a user manual. You need to learn how to do that. That's what I do. That's what we do at the Academy of Chiropractic. A little bit of a plug. That's what we do in our consulting side to teach you exactly what you need. And the way I learn how to do that, here's how you have to have a strategy to stay ahead of the competition. It's very simple. I talk every single day. Here's my call log. On a very slow day, I take about 100 to 110 calls. On a busy day, about 200 calls. I speak to neurosurgeons every day, neuroradiologists, 50 to 100 DCs daily, trial lawyers, insurance company lawyers, digital experts, and I read case law in my free time. That's how we stay ahead of the competition. You need someone to stay ahead of that for you, and you need tools. And tools are credentials. And by the way, another thing from Bob Conti in New Jersey, I'd like to send you his audio and what his credentials and what his tools has done to his practice. It's been incredible. But here's what your office should look like. Your tools, they should be in the form of diplomas all over your wall. This is verification to showing what you've attained and what you've learned, and you've made it powerful for your patients, because they need to have the confidence to understand, hey, when I started, I took all my pictures off my walls. I put this stuff up. I got so many referrals from this because patients would tell their other friends, Dr. Student is he's so credentialed. He's got so many diplomas. And then all of a sudden, it started to click that I'm not the average, that in fact, I'm keeping, you ready? My competition irrelevant. These are the types of things you're going to need to learn. When you look at this and you're working with, and by the way, it's one MRI course in 25 hours, which is co-credentialed, which I'll talk about in a minute, through not only Cleveland University, but the State University of New York at Buffalo School of Medicine. You're going to look at this, and it sounds a little foreign right now. It's not that hard. And you're going to be able to age date that this is a herniation, this is a herniation, that it is superimposed on a previous arthritic degeneration. In the spinal cord, it's starting to degenerate. That's myelomalacia, and the cord is compressed. When you say that to a surgeon, you know what they're going to say to you? You're only a chiropractor. Where were you trained? So that's where tools come in. And the toolbox is simple. There are things you're going to need, such as we have qualification programs, okay? Trauma qualified, which I feel is the new minimum, which is 11 courses in 125 hours, or MRI qualified, or primary spine care, or E&M, expert witness, hospital qualified. You know what? You get a qualification once, it never leaves you. You become an axe murderer, you go to jail, you know what they call you? Doctor. And I mean that sincerely. You're always doctor. You never lose the credential. But when you're dealing with lawyers, they're going to do something called voir dire you, V-O-I-R-D-I-R-E. Voir dire is an expert hearing to see if you're qualified to testify on the subject matter. Then, and if you can't be voir dire, if you can't pass a voir dire hearing, the lawyer can't use you. And they're going to know that going in. They're going to understand just by looking at your credentials. Now, here's the tell if a lawyer is taking you seriously. Do they ask you for your CV? If they ask you for your CV, they're taking you seriously. If they don't, they're using you like a glorified PT for continuity of care. That's it. They need somebody's CV to really bring this to where they want it to go. They need somebody's curriculum vitae, and it's not going to be yours. And often they're going to take your patient and outsource them to one of their orthos, neurosurgeons. Now, what they don't understand is they're doing just what the carriers want them to do. Because since they outsource them to ortho, neurosurgeons, their settlement values are going down. If they stayed with you, their settlement values could go up, a whole different conversation, as long as you're credentialed and follow the game plan. When you're dealing with medical specialists, the first thing they'll say to you when you talk about MRI, like Aaron did down in Cedar Park, Texas, or Dave Packard did in Virginia, or Barb Conti in New Jersey, you'll sit with the surgeon and they'll go, "You're only a chiropractor? Where were you trained?" See these courses? They are credentialed through the State University of New York at Buffalo, Jacobs School of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences. These courses, these credentials are recognized through Cleveland University, Kansas City Chiropractic and Health Sciences. These are formal, it's formal stuff, folks. So unless you have the credentials behind you, but you're going to end up becoming a one and done. Lawyers can't use you, and you're not going to have the knowledge base behind you, and the medical specialists won't want to work with you, neither will the primaries. And then when you get to court, unless you could be voir dired, and again, the lawyers are going to judge you. They judge you by their end game. They don't judge you by your paperwork as much as they judge you by your CV, as crazy as it sounds. Because lawyers judge you by their end game. Can they take you to court? Even they don't know that you're hardly ever going to get there. And when you have these credentials, by the way, what we do is we have a whole page that goes on a website. It's academychiropractic.com. We've got tens of thousands of lawyers going onto these sites and looking at our doctor's credentials. If you're trauma qualified, you click and it comes up. If you're evaluation and management qualified, any one of these things, it comes up. And then when you get qualified, all this goes below your name. It's just it. You become qualified. But your credential is not the act. I've got a whole bunch of extra letters after my name. It means nothing. See this? This is what's powerful. And what's on your CV is powerful. So, folks, what I want to share with you is the goal. And I'm going to leave the last slide up, and I'm going to chat for a few minutes. I went a little bit quick, and I did that on purpose so I'd have some time at the end. What I want to share with you is your goal is to make your competition irrelevant. That's your goal. And in order to make your competition irrelevant, you must be different than your competition. My CV is lengthy. Don Capaferri down in Atlanta, Georgia, his CV is 65 pages long. John Centineo in New Jersey, it's 32 pages long. Rob Rattray in Garden Grove, California, his is long as well. And Alan, if you could just put up that last slide once more. I just want to keep my cell phone number and the email address up there. Folks, write this down because I put out a lot of information. There's some videos, some audios, some sheets. If you want them, email me. Call my cell phone. I don't care. That's my cell phone. I always answer it. It's my pleasure to chat with you. And you can take this off whenever you're ready, Alan. Just give it about 30 more seconds. Okay. So you've got to make your competition irrelevant. It's just simple. You've got to get the lawyer to actually understand that you are the solution to their problem. Listen, I grew my practice by standing in fields and health fairs with spines, standing in malls, doing spinal screenings, having the subluxation station, all those things. And that's wonderful. But you know what? I like shopping wholesale. I want to go to the medical primary who sees hundreds and hundreds of patients a week, and his 8th most significant diagnosis is mechanical spine pain, what they call non-specific spine pain. And by the way, non-specific pain is real. Let me take a minute, because I've got 6 minutes left, and explain to you how this works, how an adjustment works, how subluxation or pathoneurobiomechanical lesion is real. There is bone on nerve. The bone on nerve is not a bone sitting on a nerve root. It's not like that. You've got two facets lining up with each other. And inside the facets, there are nociceptors, nerves. And around the facet, there's ligaments, which is mechanoreceptors and proprioceptors. In those ligaments are Golgi tendon organs, Golgi ligament organs, I'm sorry, Pacinian corpuscles, which are your stretch corpuscles, and your Ruffini corpuscles, which are your crimp corpuscles. When the bone, in between the bone, there's a little plica, a little disc that's a spacer. When you have either repetitive micro or macro trauma, the bones separate, that spacer dislodges. Now the bone approximates. There's your bone on nerve, is the nociceptor and the facet. Now what occurs is also the ligament around it starts to move aberrantly. It's firing into lateral horn, up into the periaqueduct area, into the spinal thalamic tracts, up to the thalamus, ping-pongs around the cingulate, the anterior cortex, the prefrontal cortex, motor cortex, sensory cortex, hypothalamus, back down efferently down the thalamus to disparate areas. Because if the bones are now misaligned even a degree or 2 degrees, now what's going to happen is if that's in your lower spine, your upper spine is going to have muscle spasticity to pull it in the opposite direction. So your body's going to start making curves. So what we do with the chiropractic adjustment, and over time, there's pressure on that bone. Through the piezoelectric effect, which you all know, under Wolff's law, which Julius Wolff coined in 1890, bone with pressure will remodel. If you could get that patient prior to the bone remodeling, and the bone starts to remodel, according to he and Zhuang out of China in 2002, bones start to remodel at 6 months. That's the first evidence of an arthritic degeneration on a bone. It's 6 months. So what we know is that if you adjust that patient, you separate the facet. Now that plica or disc reseeds itself. It keeps the bones back in the right position and allows it to fire appropriately. The problem is the muscles have been conditioned all around. So now the body has to let it go, and then it's going to pull it back, and it's a loop. And over time, with repetitive care, you will balance that. If you get the patient prior to the bone remodeling, you can correct the patient. If the bone is already remodeled, you can't fix that. The best you can hope for is to manage that case. Just like a diabetic or a high blood pressure patient. Medical doctors aren't fixing it, they're managing it. We do the same thing. We manage the case. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're either going to offer corrective care or case management. Those are your 2 choices. And there are tools to help you see these things and make it demonstrative, which is for a different subject, a different time. So the issue is that you have to understand that in order to make you, and by the way, this in Trauma Qualified, we cover what I just said in spinal trauma pathology and connective tissue pathology. This whole course is behind this stuff. This whole course is behind everything we talked about. You're going to be the real deal. You're going to understand how to manage these cases. There's going to be no more guesswork. You're going to know exactly what's wrong with your case and manage it. We're going to make you a primary spine care provider in your community. That's my goal. And it works, but you have to be careful. There are other primary spine care programs that also allow physical therapists in their program, which should never be allowed. PTs cannot diagnose. They don't know how to interpret images. They don't know how to differentially diagnose. That's not what they do. They're great, but that's not what they do. So we need to make your competition irrelevant. I said that a bunch of times, through making you the primary spine care provider, which is the case manager, and that only comes through clinical excellence. From my perspective, and if you go to the academyofchiropractic.com, actually go to Teach Kairos, TEACHCHIROS.com, teachkairos.com. You'll learn a lot more about this. In my last few seconds, I also want to tell you to make sure you join us next week. Sam Collins is going to be with us. Sam is the head of H.J. Ross. Sam's a 2nd-generation chiropractor. I've lectured and taught extensively with Sam. He is the real deal. He's my go-to guy. He's incredible. And there are new E&M changes that were mandated January 1st. You have to understand that. So for my doctors, though, it takes about 3 months to build an infrastructure, to learn how to do this, which will carry you for the balance of your career if you do it at 30 minutes a day. My cost for doing this is $199 a month. There's no length of stay in our agreement. If I'm full of crap, you could fire me. And I look forward to working with you. Folks, listen, I hope to be back a whole bunch of times on a whole bunch of different topics. We're going to try to keep them a little bit more narrow. But for now, I'd like to thank you so much. Look for Sam next week. Have a great day.